tēnā koutou katoa. Lovely to see you all this morning. I'll just introduce myself more properly though. Ko ngā tahu tōku iwi, ko moira ki Rawa, ko taumutu oku runanga, no o te tahi ahau, he kai whakahaere mātua o Whairara hau, ko Sam Kellar, tōku ingoa. I'm Sam Kellar, I'm the General Manager of Whairara. Definitely my honour to be here today facilitating this awesome panel. I think it's probably the best panelists ever established. So no, it should be a good discussion, looking forward to it. We'll be talking about broadly just ways we can engage with the Māori economy and also just ways we can enhance financial literacy as well. So two very big topics, and don't get me wrong, we're not going to solve the issues today, but keen to create awareness and at least kind of keep that conversation going. Just before we get too far away, just wanted to also acknowledge the passing of the Māori King. It's his tangi today, so just wanted to pass our respects on. And there'll probably be themes around kind of collaboration and awareness today. So to that note, very keen for this to be a collaborative discussion. So if you have any questions, just throw up your hand. You can submit it via the app as well, but I can just chuck up your hand. It's just a small, intimate group. So keen for it to be collaborative and keen for you to get something out of it as well. Cool. Anyway, I'll also just like to start with a karakia as well, just before I introduce the panellists. So I'll just do that quickly. Mātua te tihi, mātua te kaha, mātua te aio, mātua te mana, whiua te ha kino, tokia te ha ora, ki ruka, ki rawa, ki waho, ki roto, huie, tai kie. All right, so I'll just very quickly introduce the panellists, but then I'll hand straight back to them to introduce themselves. So we've got Donna Robertson, who's Māori lead at Retirement Commission. We've got Miles Erwin, who's Engagement Director at New Zealand Banks Association. We've got Kendall Flutey, who is co-founder and Chief Product Officer at Banqer. Did I get your title right, Kendall? It's just changed. And Sarah McBride, who's the Head of iwi Initiatives at NIB, and recent award winner, I might add. So I'll head back to the guys just to introduce themselves in more detail. So maybe just start with you, Sarah, since you got the mic.
Great. Kia ora koutou, ko te mata te moanga, ko tuki te awa, no Waipokora hau, kei tamiki makaurau taku kāinga, ko Ngāti Pākehā te iwi, ko Sarah McBride hau. So my name's Sarah, as Sam said, Head of iwi Initiatives at NIB, so work on our Toyota initiative, which we'll talk about a bit more later, but looking at improving Māori health outcomes with insurance being a key part of that.
Morena koutou. E mihi ana ki te mana whenua Ngāti Whātua Rākei, tēnā koutou. Kei ngā ringiringi mena waiwai o tēnei kaupapa, the FSC rōpū, if anyone's here, ngā mihi. Tēnā koe Sam, ko Kendall Flutey tōku ingoa, heuria hau ngā ngaitahu, ngā te kahununu hoki. Me ko te kaihanga o Banqer, as Sam mentioned. So, founder of Banqer, now Chief Product Officer. I got a promotion, very happy about that. We do financial literacy for rangatahi and increasingly our Pākehā as well. So, pick up on that later.
Kia ora koutou, ko te whanganui ātara, tako moana, ko tangata tiriti, tako iwi, no Ponaki ahau, ko Engagement Director, Te Rangipu Pēke, tako maki. I'm Miles Erwin, I'm the Engagement Director of the New Zealand Banking Association, Te Rangipu Pēke. So I do a range of different pieces of work, and one of the cool things that I do is to support the Māori banking ropu, the tāwhia, and trying to help them in achieving their 3 po of kaiawha, of increasing Māori access to capital, of te potuka manawa, of supporting financial wellbeing and financial literacy, and te puarongo in terms of boosting employment of Māori across the banking sector.
He piko he taniwha, ko taupari te maunga, ko wakato te awa, ko tainui te iwi, ko Ngāti Koheriki te hapu, ko Donna Robertson tōku ingoa. The kaupapa I'm here to talk about, in my capacity as the Māori lead at Te Ara Ahunga Ora Retirement Commission, is Māori financial wellbeing. Here to support the kōrero around tāwhia and some of the work we've been collaborating with NZBA, but some of the other mahi that we're also doing, and specifically the the roadmap for Māori financial capability, which we're currently developing. So, tēnā koe. Aroha mai, tēnā koe tō karaki o mihi I tēnei ata, mōrena koutou.
All right, thanks very much. As I say, rockstar panel. So I touched on briefly what we'll cover off today, but I'll just go into a little bit more detail now, then we'll kick things off. And also just letting you know, I believe the session's recorded as well, so on the record of everything, but that should not discourage part-I. So anyway, so what we're looking to cover today is how does the financial services sector provide support services and products to the Māori economy for business sustainability. I'll give a bit more context on the economy in a second, just to lay the platform for this session this morning. And also, I think it would be very key to kind of just create awareness and understanding of what's already out there as well. Like there's a lot of good initiatives, a lot of good programs already out there. So we're looking to just kind of create awareness and just how maybe even you in the room could provide, support to that. So the solution's not always creating another program. So, I mean, not that that's a bad thing as well. So, all right. Well, I'll just start with just a bit of context just on the Māori economy, just very high level, and maybe some of the panelists might want to add some more detail. So, I mean, myself, I work for an iwi organisation. I work for Ngāi Tahu down in Otatahi. So, but I'm by no means an expert. So, anyway, so over the past 10 years, there has been significant growth in the Māori economy. It's grown faster than the overall New Zealand economy, which is quite cool. It's estimated to be worth it's estimated currently to be more than $70 billion. And by 2030, it's estimated to have assets more than 100 billion. So, yeah, it's a pretty significant size. The economy is definitely multifaceted. I mean, I won't just be talking about myself, what I do, I promise, but I mean, Ngāi Tahu, broad range of businesses, whether it be, tourism, seafood, etc. Very broad range, but includes a lot in the primary sector, natural resources, enterprise, etc. So very broad and diverse and big opportunities. Interestingly, 40% of Māori businesses have a wahine toa as a leader, which I think is cool. It'd be great to be close to the 50%, but I think that's still, Kendall, you'll be a fantastic example of that, so ka pai to Kendall. But anyway, despite that awesome growth, there are still definitely significant challenges, so we'll dive into that today. But as I say, I'm not wanting this to be a doomsday session. It'd be great to create awareness of the good mahi that is actually happening and just talk about a pathway forward. So it won't all just be problems. I promise we'll keep it as positive as we can. So anyway, I'll just say, does anyone else in the panel have anything to add to that before we kick off the other questions? You'll ka pai? Yeah. All right, so appreciate it's very early in the morning, but I'd like to, well, not that early, but some people have probably been out last night. So, so anyway, I'm going to start very deep and philosophical. So you briefly started to talk about your kaupapa, so I'm just really keen to just explore with you guys, like what are you passionate about? Like what is the why to your mahi? Like why are you sitting here today? So very broad, just an icebreaker, just to kick things off. So I'll start with you, Donna.
Kia ora. So as I mentioned, Māori financial wellbeing is why I'm here today. Over the past 10 months, we at the Retirement Commission have been engaging with our Māori stakeholders in the financial capability space. We've held 5 wānanga, and the purpose of those wānanga were to provide this platform to talk about financial capability for Māori. We wanted to discuss challenges, solutions, initiatives, and start to not only identify what the landscape is, but how do we plan for a future for financial capability. The result of that has become a development of a roadmap, which we've called Whakatipu Pūtea mō te Māori, which is the roadmap to building financial resilience for Māori, as being financial resilience as being a key factor in our findings. My why, hopefully don't take too much time, but it's quite important to understand why I'm here. In 2012, I undertook an MBA, and I thought, cool, I'll do this to get the leverage edge that I needed to get a better paying job, to make more money, and hopefully all my money problems will disappear. And so my supervisor kept saying, you have to, in MBA, you've got to do a dissertation, 30,000 words project. And she kept asking me to dig deeper about what are you passionate about? And I had all these really superficial topics at first. And she literally said, no, dig deeper. And in frustration one day, I blurted out, I want to read it out. I want to know why I feel that the only way I can be wealthy and successful with money is to spend $40,000 on an MBA. Why, when I was raised with mātauranga Māori principles, I knew how to harvest kai, I knew what manaakitanga and kaitianga, I knew those values, but I did not have mātauranga money. And so, hence my journey began in 2020. I also have my own company with around Māori financial capability. I did this research on financial literacy for children because I have a background in teaching. I wanted to know, does financial literacy make an impact if they have learnt it before they go to secondary school, and will that affect the outcomes of their secondary education? So my why is the legacy we can believe behind if we have thriving Māori whānau, hapu and iwi. So yeah, a little bit about my why. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Thanks, Dons. Hard act to follow. I guess one of the things that I've really, really enjoyed in this work is the support that we're providing to Tāwhia. Tāwhia is a group. It's basically sort of 3 years old since it's been sort of more formalised. It came from sort of an informal grouping of Māori bankings, just sort of getting together and talking, and then they decided to try and progress it a bit more, make it more formal. And I really love the passion and the drive that comes from these people. They're not often in banking sort of industry work, you're dealing with corporate affairs people, other sort of roles. But these guys are just, they're Māori and they're bankers, but they're Māori first. And they love doing the passion. They really, there's complexities around access to capital is something that they're working on in partnership with people like the Reserve Bank to Putea Mātua. And there's huge support in there in terms of financial wellbeing and financial literacy. But it's really interesting. I really like listening to them talk about their passion to build up Māori representation in the banking sector. At the moment, it's sort of around about sort of 6 or 7%, I guess, and they're really keen to just up that. And they're always looking at partnerships with the ringa hora, with others, to really try to drive that. It's interesting listening to them talk. That's kind of a passion for them to really boost the number of Māori in the sector. For me, for the sort of the why, I guess it's in a reverse way. It's for me, it's as a Pākehā, it's more of a why not. Why wouldn't you back up Māori? Why wouldn't you support our tangata whenua in order to support the economy, to support our well-being? I think that's there's so much angst around Māori questions from a Pākehā perspective. Just why not? Just get into it.
Kia ora. For me, I'm pretty fixated on the idea that financial inequities can be reduced, not purely solved, certainly not a silver bullet, through financial education, taking a preventative approach. There's so many great initiatives that are interventions or postventions, but what would it look like if we had a completely empowered generation who understood the language of money, like you say, mātauranga money, and we could reclaim that for them. And so when we look at inequities in a New Zealand context, in Aotearoa, unfortunately Māori are overrepresented in some of those statistics. But I don't think it's as black and white as that either. I think back to my whānau and think about this decade journey I've been on with Banqer and the good work we've done, but there's not one metric of success. I think for my whānau, for some Māori, it's not all Māori that view the world in the same way as it, although there's some underlying values. We're all humans at the end of the day, whether we want to put ourselves in different buckets. But knowing that success isn't about just hoarding wealth financially, and so trying to reframe that conversation for our rangatahi that you can declare what financial success is for you, and really it's about mana motuhake, about charting your own path and feeling in control. So yeah, I don't know, I'm pretty inspired at the individual level by helping my family selfishly. This all went back to a conversation I had with my brother, and I see some of the effects of poor financial literacy and financial inequalities, intergenerational financial inequalities. But then I see the flip side of that too for Māori, who are absolutely thriving. So it's just about moving more of us along that continuum towards our definition of financial success. That's what motivates me.
So I suppose I'm coming in slightly different lens, having that insurance piece specifically that we focus on through Toyota. I just want to take the chance here as well to acknowledge Ngāti Whātua Rākei. So they were our first partner in the Toyota journey, kind of took a chance on us and have allowed us to be part of co-creating this beautiful kaupapa that we're on together. So Toyota is focused on improving Māori health outcomes, and as we know, your health outcomes are largely linked to your financial outcomes, and that's everything from being able to work, but it's also having your children having those preschool eyes and ears checks so that their outcomes throughout their education can be better when you're picking up those things earlier. Toyota isn't just health insurance, so what I often say is health insurance just pays for the treatment. It's the wraparound pieces that we have there that make it something special. We kind of have 4 po, I guess. One's focused on data, so making sure that we, alongside our iwi and hapu and kaupapa Māori organisations, that we understand what's going on within their business, and also for their individuals, so whānau or kaimahi if it's a staff type piece. We use that to sort of go into navigation, which is another of our po. That's really where the magic is. So it's looking at insurance and health outcomes, but linking them in with that broader social piece, so linking them back into iwi, where there are, for example, social programs. So if you think about, for example, your knee surgery, you're having your knee surgery, you're going to be off work for 6 weeks. You may or may not be covered by ACC for part of that, but either way you're going to have a shortfall of income. So it's linking in those pieces to go, where's the wraparound support for that, so that by fixing this issue, you're not creating broader social issues. And I guess my why, it's developed a lot over the years, to be honest. Probably started as a quite commercial relationship, but has now become a piece of absolutely closing that gap of Māori and non-Māori health outcomes. Māori are twice as likely to die, for example, from cardiovascular disease, and it's just not good enough. There's not enough logical reasons why that should be that way. And I think some of the things that I've seen along that journey makes me think that I just want to be a part of that being changed and seeing a better future. And I think, like you were saying earlier, it's a 100-year plan. You know, we won't be around to see the full effects of it. And that's an awesome place to be, to know that those future generations are going to have a different future.
Ka pai. Thanks to all of you. I definitely feel the passion in the room, which is great, and definitely agree with what you're saying just at the end there, Sarah, around having a very much a long-term view and seeing the benefits of being willing to be patient and see the benefits of that intergenerational change. I think is quite cool. Okay, well, I might, sorry, I know the mic's at the opposite end of the table, but I might come down to you, Donna, if that's okay, and just wanted to talk about the power or the value of research and informing our kind of path, because obviously we know these things, and there's some pretty ugly statistics out there, but I know at the Retirement Commission you've done some awesome research, which I've actually have seen myself. So just keen to learn about some insights in that, about that, and just why it's so powerful, and why should that help us inform the pathway to change.
I think everyone in this room will agree that having an evidence base from which to make informed decisions is key. Whether that's for shaping policy, which is also important, creating content, or just truly understanding your audience. We believe by properly understanding retirement through the Te Ao Māori lens, it should be possible to develop good policies and related activities to improve outcomes for Māori in retirement. Retirement 2022 re-release, which we do every 3 years, the RRIP. If you're not familiar with the acronym, which we use quite a bit within our industry, the review of retirement income policies. And in that review in 2022, again, these stats are not surprising to any of us, that compared to non-Māori, we have less wealth. We have higher levels of poverty. We are less likely to have investments and in medical insurance. We also will die younger. We will have superannuation for less years than non-Māori. And women arrive in retirement in a far less better shape than men do. So we know that these stats are really important. And it does paint a grim picture, but that picture allows us to inform policy, to create programs, and I think really collaborate. I think that partnership, saying we all see the same picture, but what piece of the picture do we want to help create to improve that? Because that's that long-term solution for Māori, that's what's going to be required. And I mean, we've heard that the Māori economy is booming, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is it like 1.4% of the GDP? So how do we connect that Māori economy that's booming to financial capability for Māori? How do we find the way? Is it the connectors? I think partnerships is also a really key important factor in that as well. So the policies, the research we have, that's going to help us inform of those things. And as I said, as you know, at the Retirement Commission, we undergo this type of research often. We support other organisations who complete this research because it's important that we have this picture and make it clear for everyone, because we all want to be in the waka, but we've got to know where we're going. We need to see the horizon. What's the vision? Where do we want, for me, being Māori, where do I want my people to be in 50 years' time? What's the legacy I want to leave for my tamariki and my mokopuna in the future? So,
Couple of things, Donna. Yeah, I'm definitely keen to explore. You mentioned partnerships, which I think is crucial as well. Like I said at the beginning, there's so many good things out there. It's just around how you can kind of connect them together and how you can all work together for the collective good. So it'd be good to just start creating a bit of awareness of some of the awesome programs that are out there. So you have the mic, Miles, so I'd be very keen to learn more, and the audience, I'm sure, as well, around like what you've done with like Tāwhia and Te Rito Hau. So if you wouldn't mind just giving us a bit of a rundown.
Yeah, sure thing. So I'll touch base on Te Rito Hau, which is a piece of work that Donna and I have worked really closely together on. So this broadened out. It all worked out really nicely. It was part of the Retirement Commission's strategy that they wanted to sort of, I guess, allocate some projects to certain industry sectors, and one of the things for NZBA was to work on a sort of a Māori financial literacy project, and that was happening, and sort of about the same time was when Tāwhia was becoming more formalised, and so they had obviously set out their PO, including Te Pota Manawa around financial literacy and wellbeing. So it worked out nicely in terms of timing. We fed in with the Commission and with Tāwhia. We worked out what to do, which was essentially take the sort of the work that the Retirement Commission had already done around Te Rito Hau work and actually add a specific banking element to make, because there's issues around Māori, especially around trust and confidence in the financial system. And we wanted to see if we could sort of really get a banking element that made that work. So essentially where we've got to in terms of development of the program, we've done a pilot and we've refined it. And essentially you get the first phase of the wānanga is broadly about financial capability, and the second phase is about banking. And the banking element is taught by Māori bankers. So we get people in the room from the banks, in the rohe generally, who can talk about banking, and it's very much a face-to-face. This is talking about things around lending, around products and that sort of stuff. And it's really good because you can see, especially, it's just breaking down the issues around trust and confidence in that sector, because they can hear what, in many cases it's a person knowing that if they're wanting to get a loan, if they want to get a mortgage or something like that, the Māori person talking to them may be the person who would be giving them that loan, and they're explaining to them how it would work, what they need to do, giving them that confidence in a sort of a safer setting, I guess, than in a sort of a bank branch. So that's been really, really insightful. It's been wonderful to see and watch the sort of the bond being built and the understanding and those sort of trust barriers breaking down. So that's been an amazing piece of work. It's ongoing, and I think we're all really proud of the mahi we've done. So just quickly, the project manager on this work, Midge Takani, passed away last night. So I just want to acknowledge her. She was a wahine toa of financial literacy, and we'll continue your mahi. Sorry.
Yeah, would like to acknowledge the passing as well. Okay. Thanks, Miles. And just like to acknowledge Miles and Donna being here as well, just with the passing last night. know it's difficult to be on the panel today, so thanks to you guys. All right, well, Kendall. Yeah. All right, yeah.
No, don't apologise. Shall I talk a little bit about our
I'd love to. I mean, I know quite a lot about what you do, but tell us about Banqer. I know you were touching on your 10-year journey, so tell us about kind of where you are today and what your plan is for the future. You've got a fancy new title, so how are you looking to grow up? What are your next steps?
Maybe I'll get a sense of the room. Hands up if you've heard of Banqer. I don't want to... Yeah, okay, so I'm getting like 80% for those online. So I won't give you the full story, but maybe I'll fill in some of the blanks. So started in 2014. Next month's our 10-year anniversary. Very scary. In 2 years, thank you, 2 years, no clap needed. 2 years after we kicked off, we started our partnership with Kura Kaupapa to develop Pēkeka, which is most people don't know about it, but it's our platform specifically for Kura Kaupapa. We worked with Kura up here in Rotorua and back down home to establish that. Obviously it's translated, but there's also some contextualisation for Te Ao Māori. So some of those views of financial success that I was talking about, maybe a slightly more collective view of financial wealth is the best way to describe it, is woven into that platform, and that's been ongoing for the last seven years or so. More recently, we have developed 2 other platforms for general population use, Banqer Whai, Junior and Senior. We haven't translated them yet. We still have whare kura and kura using them, which is really interesting, and I think it raises the point that there are some technical aspects of the language of money that we all have to know, whether they fit us or not. And I think it's less about what we're teaching, and it's about how we're teaching. And there's been some really cool examples this year, not by us, but of others in the space that are really leaning into the how we do it and making that really fit for purpose for Māori. I don't know if anyone follows Hidden Figures on social media. If you don't, look them up. They're incredible. I like their work. They held a kura reo this year. I didn't go. Did anyone? Did you go, Donna? No, yeah. I'm on the list for the next one, where they just got some awesome people in to talk about money in an environment that really worked. So it was more about the how, because premiums are premiums in a lot of sense, and interest is interest. More recently, we have been getting into Pākeke, adult space, and that's been really fun because we're not hesitant to engage with the financial sector in rangatahi in our school space. We do. We have fantastic commercial partners, KiwiBank Partners Life and the likes, but it's less removed from the financial world for our young people. So working with adults, we've got to form some awesome partnerships with our iwi. So we've worked with Waikato Tainui, with Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei, and actually through that we got to work a little bit with NIB too, and we got to put, I won't steal your thunder, but the awesome products and solutions that you have for Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei Uri, and got to simulate that in our technology as well. So it's just bringing the real world in and contextualising it, and also introducing concepts that just work for Māori, so understanding that the wealth of their marae, viewing that within their financial portal is something that they can be proud of and have aspirations around, or they can koha to friends in different events within our platform when things come up unexpectedly. So yeah, it's been a real fun journey over the last year with my new title. I've got to get my hands on the product a little bit more. But partnerships have always been and will always be a key part of our solution, because big problem, we're not going to solve it on our own, so we may as well work together, I guess, is our stance.
Awesome, thanks, Kendall. All right, now thanks for that. Might move on to the next one now. Is obviously there's a big focus in the industry around achieving good customer outcomes, as there always should be. And obviously before you do that, you need to know your customer. You need to work out best ways for engaging with your customer. And I'd suggest probably a one-size-fits-all approach is probably not the best way to do it. So keen to explore that. So it's probably twofold. We can start with you, Sarah. And I will ask another question shortly around your mahi as well. But just keen to understand from your guys' perspective, what have you learned around engaging with Māori? Does it need to be a different approach, or can it be the same as dealing with your Pākehā members? I mean, we've spoken before. I know, Miles, you were touching on just kind of having like a trusted kind of face in the room, or is it the concepts more around building kind of a relationship instead of being purely transactional? So trying to build whanaungatanga, that sort of thing. So keen to hear it from your perspective, Sarah.
Yeah, and it's such a good question because I think it is different, but I think Pākehā could do with engaging through whanaungatanga and that sort of thing, and being a genuine face rather than just, hey, we're here to talk about insurance, maybe a bit more than we do. I guess coming from a Pākehā organisation or not not necessarily a specifically Te Ao Māori organisation, for us to engage genuinely in the space that we are engaging, and that I do feel that we engage genuinely in, there was a certain amount of work that we had to do inside first, and I guess I'd encourage if this is a space that you are getting into, that you do that work for yourself and for your people around you. We've gone pretty hard with it. Like we do a lot of te reo Māori training within the business. We have our own waiata that was written by Anna Coddington. We have various levels of singing experience in the business. So waiata at lunchtime is always it's pitchy, but we do it. So I guess it's that piece is look, any business that you were going into, you would do some preparation work first and understanding them, and absolutely there should be that piece. But knowing that your first meeting is not where you're going to get your commercial deal or whatever it is that you're going in to get. That first meeting is about that whanaungatanga. It's about having that connection, learning about each other. Which is a really, really important part of it. And while perhaps that business sometimes is a longer journey, once you have that relationship, it's a long-term relationship. We've been with Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei now for about 6.5 years, and we've been absolutely on a journey together. And we talk very much so about what's in 50 years, what does this look like, how do we change it? So it has to be that long-term piece. Lost my train of thought now, so it can't have been that interesting, whatever else I was going to say.
No, that's awesome, Sarah. Thanks very much. Donna would like to add something to that, so we'll go down to Donna if you don't mind passing the mic.
I just wanted to add to that. You're absolutely right. And I think, the other thing I have to say before I get shot is that Sorted is, at Te Ara Aunga is the engine behind Sorted. So many of you might be familiar with Money Month. So Sorted, our projects, our programs that we have, and we try to look for transformational change rather than transactional, and I really do believe that whanaungatanga, but secondly to that the ultimate goal of whanaungatanga should be empowerment, so that our people, Māori, get to determine what they want to do, their journey, and that's being able to understand those community-specific solutions led by community. So I absolutely agree with that and tautoko that, and then alongside that, from a financial capability perspective, we don't get to determine what their money journey should look like. It should be them, but that empowerment. But you can only do that if you've done the whakawhanaungatanga first. So I completely agree with that.
100%. I mean, I'm facilitating, but I'm going to add to it anyway. Not to plug my own business, but I mean, we have the same sort of concept. So, I'm the manager of Rawa, which is the Ngāi Tahu investment scheme, and we very much, not to get using the word intergenerational, but very much take a long-term intergenerational viewpoint to it. And I really like the kind of concepts of trying to equip our whānau with the tools to be successful themselves, and also being willing to be kind of patient on that journey with them. So we run an investment scheme that the money's locked in for key life milestones like tertiary education, first whare purchase, that sort of thing. But we don't want to just say good luck. Like, we also try and wrap around financial capability programs with that as well. So including for our littlest members. So we've got a program called Ngā Kaitiaki Moni for our 5 to 12-year-old members. So definitely stay in those conversations early, I think, is important as well. We actually find with that as well, it can sometimes even be the the young ones, the tamariki educating their parents, so which is quite cool. So awesome, thanks to you and Donna. But yeah, would love to hear your perspective on this as well, Miles. Like I know you were talking about Tiritaho and Tawhia. And I will note, Whai was part of one of your pilots as well, so I have seen the power of it firsthand, which is quite cool. But you're keen to learn some of your experiences and also just what didn't go well as well, if you have something. So sometimes that's just as important. So, yeah. Yeah,
I mean, I think in terms of the broader cultural change, I mean, that's one of the things, obviously, I think. It's one element, obviously, bringing Māori into an organisation, encouraging, and especially at senior levels, ensuring that there is a voice for Māori across the sort of the layers of an organisation. With banking, it's slightly different because there's different challenges around lending with Māori, obviously with whenua Māori, with shared assets, with the securitisation stuff that comes around that sort of thing. It's a bit more complex, and in terms of say for micro businesses, sort of Pākehā businesses can often secure a they'll get a business loan against their home, right? So it's more of a home loan, but given that Māori have a much lower rate of home ownership, you can't do their home loan against a home they don't have. So there's different barriers when in the banking sense. But over the last few years, there has been a greater drive in banking in terms of trying to overcome these hurdles. In years gone by, it was a bit of a too hard basket. How can we actually put a security over something when we don't know who's actually the owners, how many owners there are of it? But banks are changing that work, and Tawhia has been a part of that in terms of working together. They are able to. The Commerce Commission's market study has been really useful in being able to say, look, you can actually share the information that you're doing here. You don't need to sort of worry about any sort of legal stance or anything like that. So there's much more work going on in banks to overcome some of those hurdles, and now you've got all the major banks basically have ways around lending on whenua Māori and ways to sort of look at different ways of supporting Māori businesses and so on. So I think that's been a really good shift. Part of it is driven from culture, from a huge amount of work that's done by heads of Māori advisory and people sort of who are supporting them. So there's real benefit in terms of change, I think, in sort of unlocking a lot of that capital base. And with Tawhia, they work with the Reserve Bank and looking at ways to figure out ways through. There's, the Commerce Commission market study said, look, let's work more closely together, look at ways around things like AML, see if we can change some of that sort of stuff. So putting onus on regulators, talking about, risk weights on Māori land and sort of changing elements of that. So it's kind of encouraging everyone to take a look at the various different types of barriers so that the regulators can say one thing, the sort of chief risk officer can take a slightly more relaxed view because of where that's going there. So it's that sort of cultural change that's happening across the sector, which is really good. So just, you talked about challenges, I just thought I'd say something really positive. Yeah. I think there is generally... Sorry about that. I've been a bit of a downer, so I thought I'd just get positive, right? So there's really good stuff happening in the sector, I think. There's a way to go, but it's getting there.
No, exactly. I mean, the first step to being positive is obviously also acknowledging these issues and being aware of them and then creating a plan together as well, obviously. So maybe I'll hand over to you, Kendall. I know you've worked for 10 awesome years of trying to go on a crusade of enhancing financial literacy for all New Zealanders. So what are kind of issues you're seeing specific to Māori? Like what are the kind of barriers that you've noticed, or keen to hear your perspective on that as well?
I think Māori aren't immune to the general barriers that all New Zealanders face in terms of financial literacy, but I think it really does come down to sometimes fitting a square peg in a round hole of our financial system. And that's in terms of the way, I harp back to it, the way we view financial success, and the fact that our financial system isn't really necessarily geared towards te ao Māori and some of the aspects you were just touching on, Miles, like owning collective land and wanting to build on that, and some of the complexities and just the extra loopholes and the decades that you have to fight for those sorts of things. Otherwise, look, the rangatahi we work with got the same problems as Pākehā kids in the school we're working with too. Don't have enough money, want to buy things, seeing things on TikTok. So there's no necessarily unique challenges apart from some of those more holistic cultural challenges from my perspective. Going back to your last partai though, Sam, I would say in terms of engaging and knowing your customers, if we think about the economic environment and financial system we're in at the moment, and we've got, a regulator shifting to outcomes focused regulation. We've got a Māori population that will be, Eru's going to kill me because I'm going to get his stats wrong, but it's like 25% Māori by 2050, which is incredible. And if you needed an incentive to engage effectively with Māori now, I think that's it. Like if you don't have that strong why, then that's a commercial driver that you can cling to, surely, around our changing face of population, and the fact that the Māori economy is developing and maturing to the point where my organisation, when we went out for capital a couple of years ago, 50% of our investors that came on board were Māori. So iwi, ahuwhenua trusts, individuals. We've got a really thriving Māori economy who will start specialising. We've got an awesome researcher, Robin Kāmera, who looked into our Māori entities. Māori are more likely to hire Māori as well, and therefore hold and retain that tikanga, and be able to thrive and prosper within the Māori economy. So I really encourage, I think, Sarah, you've laid out a great groundwork of how to engage. Don't push Māori through your pipeline. I've heard several times from some of my friends, and I give them a quick whack, that too many cups of tea. There's not too many cups of tea, just take the time, get to know each other, because relationally, I don't know, some of my best work with the Pākehā Māori, whatever, comes from people I take the time to get to know. So that would be my whittle for the room, that it's worth the time. You'll get some pretty great outcomes. Enjoy the tea.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I mean, I'm an avid tea drinker myself, so yeah, I agree with that.
Good.
I might just save you, Kendall. I mean, I'm not meaning to put you on the spot either, but I know you had a session yesterday with the Minister around financial capability, so I was going to ask the question around kind of what additional, trying to focus more on positive things, like what additional support can be provided. What are your recommendations? In a dream world, what would we be doing? Yeah. Maybe not now, but what would we be laying the foundation for the future? I
mean, I'm biased, but the sentiment was held within the room, not just me. There are enough tools out there. We have had some incredible contributions well before I was even on the scene in terms of financial literacy tools. So I think the gaps really exist in knitting those together and making them fit for purpose for the right people at the right time. And so it comes back to the likes of Te Ara Ahunga Order, Donna and her crew being able to have the agency to have that roadmap for us to all rally around. Let's stop reinventing the wheel. We've got clear leadership in this space. Let's align with that and serve our audiences. You'll all have amazing networks, trusted clients who have a strong relationship with you. That's gold. If you can play your small part in supporting that and plugging into the financial literacy ecosystem that already exists, we're open for business. Like, we want to work with everyone. And that's not just me, that was everyone in that room with the Minister. The problem's too big. We're a small country. We should be able to solve it. Some of our statistics are really embarrassing. So there's a lot of optimism, though, around the changing of the tide. This government's talked a bit about financial literacy in schools and potentially making some changes to the curriculum. That'll be a start, but in the work with Pākehā adults, you guys play such a strong role. So I'm pretty excited that we have the turnout we do this morning, and hopefully some more people tuning in online.
Kapai, thanks, Kendall. Also, I should say that my iPad's gone black, so if there were any part-time questions, just chuck up your hand and yell at us, and we're happy to answer it. But I might hand over to you now, Sarah. Obviously, I'm keen to more explore now effective ways to engage with iwi organisations. I know that's something you do in your current mahi, and I saw you on stage last night accepting an award, so you're obviously doing it pretty well. So, yeah, just keen to understand just kind of how you've engaged with iwi organisations. Like, I know you're working with Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei, for example, and what do they look for in partners?
Yeah, so I've already talked a little bit about the building the relationships piece, but just hammer that home again because it's important. I guess I'd also say iwi organisations are sophisticated commercial organisations. They are very clever. Lots are very, very well funded with very, sophisticated investments. So as much as building the relationships and acknowledging the Māoridom and setting yourself up to engage in that world is important, I would also remember that, these are commercial organisations. So what does that look like? For us, it's a lot about that co-creation piece that was being talked about before. So we don't say, hey, this is what we're going to do for the next year. But we do go in every year and say, what are we going to do together for the next year? So have those very clear goals, but be willing to flex, I guess, is the big piece. I think where we've had our biggest improvements and biggest successes working alongside the rōpū that we work with has been where we've been able to go, actually, this isn't getting either of us the result that we need anymore. We need to pivot. So it's that quite flexy piece. Ultimately, anything that any business really is doing with you is an investment, and so they're looking at that return on investment. We recently did a lot of work on our social return on investment. So again, looking at that longer term piece of what I was talking about before, if children are getting early eye checks, what's the impact of that? We've only looked at it at a year piece so far. The next piece is to look at what's that intergenerational impact. But we have for Pākeke 220% return. So for every dollar that goes in, $2.20 comes out in social return. And I think setting yourself up in terms of being able to use that data both for yourself and for the organisation that you're working with is really important. And I think it's probably one of my biggest learnings is we didn't set ourselves up right in the beginning to be able to have those learnings. And so especially in those early days where that ownership and that literacy within insurance and feeling, I guess, the right to go to a health provider and say, I don't want to go to the public specialist. I'm going, I've got health insurance. I'm going private. We had definitely overestimated how many claims were coming in. And so I think that was probably our point where we got closer with Ngāti Whātua because we were able to pivot and recognise it and move quickly to both change those outcomes and change the financial outcomes that it was having on the hapu. So just having that very open communication throughout.
Awesome. That's awesome. Thanks so much, yeah. We've got about 10 minutes. I might just ask for some kind of final thoughts and then if there's any questions from the audience as well. So obviously we've spoken quite a bit today around just kind of how we can create that pathway for change. And I think we've probably already touched on this, but it's keen if you have anything kind of final to add to it. Like what is the greatest change an organisation or an individual could make? So very broad, but if you don't mind, starting you, Sarah, and we'll go along the line.
Good Lord, that's a hard one to be first with. I think the biggest change for yourself personally is just being open to making that change. For me, it's been a beautiful journey of growth in terms of my career and the things that we've been able to achieve alongside each other, but also in stepping back into, I guess, that world of te ao Māori that I wasn't as invested in probably prior to this. So it's a really beautiful world to be in and a beautiful part of rediscovering your heritage. So aside from all the social impacts and financial impacts, if you needed another why alongside that, just do it for yourself.
Yeah, first steps. I like tangible takeaways from conferences. I don't know about you guys. Sometimes you can go away like, wow, that was amazing, and then a week passed and you're like, what happened? I think if you're just starting on your journey of engaging with Māori communities, with Māori entities, whatever it may be, I just want to acknowledge that can be overwhelming and scary, and you can lack confidence, and that's totally a normal feeling. The way I suggest people can navigate that is to try and immerse yourself in what that looks like in safe steps. So when I was talking about hidden figures before, literally follow them on social media and hear about how they talk about money. You can follow the Māori millionaire as well and see how she talks about money and what her followers and her community, what their pain points are, and just try to start to understand from a distance, build up your confidence. And if you are looking for your why as well, what I come back to is, this is Aotearoa, we're all a part of it, we're all in it together. We can't unweave that fabric. And I think it's really exciting when people lean into it and think about the fact that your grandkids could be Māori, your great-great-great-great-great-grandkids probably will be Māori, and what kind of future do you want to build for them? And starting today, although you won't see that, your legacy will live on through them. So it's a pretty exciting world that we're going into when this is even a panel we can talk about, and we have some great exemplars of people doing it in action too.
Yeah, kia ora. I think sort of tautoko all of that, and I think I'd add a point in terms of with Māori, it's about understanding what the goals are, what that group, what that iwi is trying to achieve. Say, you know, and getting in there as a sort of someone who's supporting and helping, rather than sort of often, you know, sort of trying to lead or you know, or show the way or that sort of thing. It's kind of getting in there, understanding this is what you're trying to achieve. Right, let's innovate and try and support it. It's you know, that's why banks are having to sort of change their products, because they're kind of going, oh, hang on, you want houses on your whenua. Okay, we need to figure out ways to help you do that. And that's kind of, I think it's understanding your role, which is supporting that group to achieve what it wants to achieve. You know, I mean, it's always been kind of funny. And you know, I'm from Wellington, and I think when sort of a lot of, I guess, sort of bureaucratic organisations sort of heard about this concept of, like, you mean there's a Māori bankers group? and the sort of the eyes lit up, frisson of excitement through the bureaucracy in terms of, oh, some people we can engage with. And it was kind of almost an engage, not so much a tick box that's being rude, but it's kind of like, oh, we can engage with that group. And it was kind of like, and that's actually, and they've, the Tavi's been really strong, co-chairs, original co-chairs have been sort of said, look, we're only going to talk to you if these are our po, how are you going to help? And that's kind of a thing. And then if you can't, then we've got other stuff to do, and we'll talk to other people, and we'll do something else. So I think that's kind of an understanding that I think people sort of need to have. It's about helping drive those goals rather than just sort of, you know, talking.
Got it.
Cool.
Donna.
I guess I wanted to say a good place to start is sorted.org.nz. But like I said, it's a partnership. We're not the only ones out there with support for our people. And, you know, one of the great things about Tāwhia that the Commission worked on, I mean, we've got a lot of wonderful programs. We're in the school section as well. We have some Māori medium education resources. But I think it's making sure that whatever we do is for transformational gain, not transactional gain. Transformational change, not transactional gain. And that's really important. I think my last notes, what is additional support can be provided? More research, I think, would be good to understand what financial wellbeing means. It's actually, just not to plug the roadmap is one of the very first tasks we are going to do with our Pūtea Manawa working group, which is made up of a whole collective of Māori stakeholders in this space, is to do research. What does Māori financial resilience look like? Because as you said, Kendall, success is not defined by what we know it to be, and they need to determine that. So, and then lastly, collaboration. We've heard it all day. Collaboration, partnerships, and I want to end on this last quote. And you may recognise this if you've tuned in this week on the proceedings. Be who we are. Live our values. Speak our reo. Care for our mokopuna. Just be Māori. All day, every day. This is just day one, our time is now. Ko tahitanga is the way. And that's a direct quote from Kingi Tuheitia, po tatau te whirowhiro, tuawhitu, who is being laid to rest today. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Kia ora. I think that's probably a good way to finish. And conscious you need to get back to the main room in about 4 minutes as well. So I'd just like to thank the panellists very much for their insight today. It was very much appreciated. I hope the audience got something out of it as well. So, but I'll close with a karakia quickly anyway. So, unahia, ki te uri tapanui, kia wātea, ki mama, te kako, te tinana, te wairua i te ara takata, koia, rā e roko, whakaeria ake ki ruka, tu te uru, whakamoa, kia tina, hui e, tai ki e. Right, thank you very much.